Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you students. This is Assistant Professor Ishani Trivedi from LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Continuing with the session regarding the subject Construction Equipment and Automation. Now students, currently we are discussing regarding the photogrammetry. We have been discussing about the various concepts, various basic definitions regarding the photographs which we take with the help of aircraft. The same which can be done with the help of drones as well. So till now we have discussed that how there are certain definitions related to the aerial photogrammetry. We discussed about the different types of photographs that can be taken. We have two different types of photographs. To be precise, we have vertical photograph and we have oblique photograph. These two are the most important for us. Now, next today we are going to understand further regarding the topic scale of the vertical photograph. Now please note students that the scale of the photograph can be done for the vertical as well as the oblique photograph both. But here we are going to talk about the vertical photograph. Now we already know students that what is a vertical photograph. It is taken when the optical axis, meaning the camera axis is properly vertical, and we are taking the photo in such a manner that the photo will be parallel to the ground plane. Right? This is how the vertical photograph is taken. But now we know that the area is quite large, the area is very big. So the photo which we are going to take, the photo will be taken only for the certain parts of the area. Right? Now you know what is a scale, meaning we are reducing something to plot it in a bigger area or a bigger map. So if I want to plot the various photographs and make a map, we will have to reduce it to the scale. This was also one of the processes of the photogrammetry, that is the third process, that you are going to reduce the photograph and then you are going to make the topographical map of the area. So this is how we are going to talk about the scale of the vertical photograph, which we are supposed to find out in reference to the ground plane, in reference to the area where we are going to prepare the topographical map. So let us try to understand what is the scale of the photograph or for the vertical photograph. So it is nothing but the ratio of distance on the photograph to the corresponding distance on the ground. So if you have the area, right, if you have the distance, now let me say that the distance on the photograph, meaning over here we can see that it will be small f, that is the focal length, the distance from the focus to your photograph, right? So that is your focal length of the camera. So that distance divided by the distance right from the ground level up to the photograph where you are going to take as the reference point. We studied about the basic definitions in the last session. You can refer to that once again. We had the exposure station, we had the photograph, and we had the ground plane. So we are going to talk about the distance between exposure station and the photograph, that will be f, and the distance between the photograph and the ground, that will be your capital H, or the height. Dividing both of these things, we are going to get the scale of the vertical photograph, so that you can reduce it and then you can plot it in the map, because there will be number of photographs when you are talking about any particular area. So what is the scale of the photograph? We have the ratio of the distance on the photograph divided with the distance to the ground. So in simple terms, if you want to understand, then look at the sketch over here. You are also supposed to draw this. So we have this will be at top will be your exposure station. This is your photograph. This is your focal length. And from the photograph till the ground, the distance, right? The distance will be referred to as capital H. So f is the focal length of the camera, h is the flying height above the ground level. Right, that is the height of the aircraft, the flying height just above the ground level. By dividing both of them, you are going to get the scale, meaning what you are getting on the photograph will be plotted in the topographical map. You know what is a scale already. So if I want to keep it in simple formula, then map distance divided by ground distance. Here map distance will be equal to f, that is focal length, and ground distance will be equal to h. Now, first case was if the ground is properly flat. Now if you are talking about a properly flat ground, then this is an ideal case and this will be considered. Now what if you have a ground which has different elevations, which has different topography. It may not be possible that the ground is perfectly horizontal. So if you have ground with elevated areas, then it says that if you have the elevated area, then look at the image, the sketch, refer over here. So we have the air camera film, that is your aircraft or your photo. Next we have is the focal length, that is the f. Here will be your lens. Then at the bottom here, instead of the flat ground, we have the elevated ground. So the reference which we are going to take will be the mean sea level. We are going to take the reference of the mean sea level, or you can say any datum which you are considering. So you are going to subtract the total flying height from this mean sea level and the elevated ground. That will be capital H minus small h, will give you the ground distance over here, because we are to consider only the height which is from the lens up to the ground. So in case of the elevated ground, you are going to have to subtract the total flying height minus the height of the ground, that is the above the sea level, right? This gives you f upon h minus small h equal to the scale. So why do we do this? So in case of a map, it is an orthographic projection, right? It has uniform scale everywhere. But in case of the photograph, it is a perspective projection. So the scale of the photograph varies from point to point. If you remember, then we used to take for drawing the plan as 1 centimeter equal to 100 centimeter, 1 meter is equal to 1000 meter. This is nothing but the same. You are just taking the scale over here because it is a perspective projection. Now, if the elevation of the points vary, which we saw here over here, the scale of the vertical photograph will vary from point to point on the photograph. That is why we are doing capital H minus small h, which will give you the scale of the vertical photograph. Now, mark students, this can also be done for the oblique photograph as well. You can find out the scale by considering various cases in similar manner. What will happen over there is, if the optical axis will not be properly vertical, it will be oblique, it will be having some angle of tilt. That is why you are going to consider various cases. Now, next we are going to talk about an important topic regarding the concept is overlap. Now, I think you know what is the meaning of overlap, students. Something which merges with another, right? Something which merges on one another. It overlaps each other, that is known as overlap. So, how we are going to deal with overlapping of the photograph when you are carrying out the aerial photogrammetry? This can happen with drones also, it can happen with aircraft also. So first, let us try to understand what are the two different types of overlaps which we encounter when we talk about the photogrammetry. Other than this, we also have tilting of the aircraft. I had discussed that aircraft cannot be properly horizontal all the time. It is going to tilt because of the weather, atmospheric conditions. So the tilting of photograph is also important, and similarly is the relief displacement, the displacing of the photograph from its position. So these three concepts are important for us. So the most important over here is the overlap. Now let us try to understand with the help of the sketch. We have overlap in direction of the flight line is called longitudinal overlap, or forward overlap, or just overlap, or end lap. Now, refer to the sketch over here. Now this is my direction of the flight, that is correct. Now here the flight is there is a single flight, right? There is a single aircraft. It is going to move to and fro and carry out the number of flights, and based on that we can also calculate the number of photographs and the number of flights to be done. So here the overlapping caused because of the flight's direction, because of the flight moving in single direction, that is overlap. Now let us have a look over here. Now this is the flight where the first photograph is taken, it is moving. So here with the help of the first photograph, let us say this much area is covered, right? You can see the triangle, you can see its area of coverage. So here we can see that this portion is considered, it is covered when the first photograph is taken. Now the aircraft is moving forward, since it will be constantly moving. So when it moves forward, it is taking second photograph. Now when this second photograph is taken, when this much area is covered, so it happens over here is the first photograph and the second photograph is going to have this much area in common. This area is going to overlap each other, right? So this is how you can understand when it collides, right? When two photographs collide with each other, the area which is covered twice, that is known as overlap. Here for the direction of the flight, along the direction of the flight, if it happens, then it is known as just overlap or end lap. Next which we have is overlap between the adjacent flight lines. Now we have also discussed that there are aerial photographs which can be taken with the pair of cameras with two different flights and two cameras. So here we can see, right? One flight is coming towards us and the other flight is going in opposite direction. Now this flight is taking photograph which is covering this much area in the triangular portion, and the second flight over here is covering this area. So here the overlapping is done side by side. Here the overlapping was done in the direction of the flight. Here it is being happening side by side with two side flights. Then this type of overlapping is known as side overlap. So overlap between the adjacent flight lines, right, that is known as side overlap. Now purposefully you are going to keep overlap up to 60% when we are talking about the end lap, and if you are talking of the side lap, then up to 15% is in practice. Why? Because it is going to give you proper data. It is going to let you classify the area stereoscopically. What is stereoscopically? Meaning it is going to give you two different perspectives of the same area. This is how you can cover the full area stereoscopically. 3D imaging, kind of 3D imaging will be done. So three-dimensional photography or the map will be developed after the overlap of the photographs, which will give you more information about the area, and it will give you two different perspectives, so you can carry out the work more precisely and with more accuracy. And sometimes overlap photographs can also be rejected without affecting the accuracy, because you have taken it in such a way that you are going to have details of the same particular thing twice in two different perspectives. So here we can see that the overlap is occurring. Here the flight is moving in single direction and the overlap is almost up to 60%. The amount of area which gets repeated in two photographs, that will be your percentage of area. And when it is coming back, then this will be the example of the side lap, which you can see is almost 25%. So this is how your overlapping is done. Next which we can see is I am giving you more clear picture, more clear idea regarding the same. So here we have the flight which is moving in this direction. This is the flight line. This is the direction of the aircraft. Then we have the overlapping. So here the first photo is taken, then the next, then the third. This is how three photographs are being taken, and the amount over here is overlapping. And as I said that you are going to recognize the model, the map stereoscopically. So this is your stereoscopic model, meaning it is going to give you two different perspectives of the same particular 60% overlapped area, and this will be your complete coverage of the photograph. I think I explained all of these things. It is just having labeling, so if it is asked, then you are supposed to draw everything with proper labeling. This is how you can carry out the overlap and the side lap. Also, I am going to show you some more pictures regarding the percentage of coverage. Here we have 0% overlap, and then 20% and up to 70% overlap. So this is how you decide that how much percentage of area is covered. Based on that, this percentage is decided. Ideally, it should be up to 65% in case of overlapping, that is regular overlap or end lap, and in case of side lap, you can go for 15 to 35%. Next, I am going to talk about the reasons for the overlap. I think I discussed already enough reasons regarding the overlap, but let us have a look at it technically, that what you are supposed to write down. So only the overlap portion is useful to view the photo stereoscopically. Now this is clear after the explanation, so hence the overlap should be at least 50%. I think it is clear now. We understood the whole overlapping thing and what is stereoscopically observation. Next, to tie the different prints together accurately, end lap is useful. So to tie up together to make a full photograph, end lap is useful. Next we have is distortions of the photograph caused by tilt and relief are more pronounced in the edges of the photograph. Because of overlap, such portions can be rejected and central portion is examined. As I said that there are three parameters to be considered: overlapping, tilt and relief displacement. Now tilting and relief displacement is going to give you some kind of errors. So if you have two different perspectives, if you have overlapping, then you can reject the bad part without affecting the accuracy. I am also showing you over here that how a full river is covered with the help of overlapping. Can you see that if I have this image, right, if I have this second and third image, then you can see that overlap is done over here. So this portion of the river, it will be covered in this image, it will be covered in this image as well. So it is going to give you two different perspectives. And this is how your this is your overlap, that is your end lap, and this is your side lap. Next, because of overlap, each portion of the territory is photographed 2 to 3 times. As I said, if a photograph is distorted due to excessive tilt, or if it is not clear due to the clouds, it can be rejected. Again the same point. Next, if the flight lines are not maintained straight and parallel, then the gaps between the adjacent strips will be left. These gaps can be filled up with the help of the side lap. I think this is also understood by you. This is just giving conclusion to the full concept regarding the overlap. If there is sufficient end lap, then objects can be viewed from more than one angle in stereoscopic examination. That is kind of 3D imaging. I think this is just the conclusion of the full overlapping part. Last which we have is selection of flying height. What will be the height of aircraft, right? How much high you are going to fly your drone or the aircraft. Now please note that if you go for higher, if you increase the height, then the accuracy will be decreased. I think this is also a concept which you can imagine on your own, that as the height increases, then the accuracy, then the coverage of the photograph, the focal length, all these things will become less, and hence accuracy will also decrease. So the selection of the flying height above the ground depends upon the contour interval in the topographic mapping. Right, it depends on what is the contour of the area. The lines have contour lines, contour map has to be referred. Also depends on the scale, relief displacement and tilt, which we discussed. So if I want to calculate the flying height, then we have flying height equal to C factor multiplied by contour interval, meaning the distance, right? The distance between two contour lines, two consecutive contour lines for a particular area, that is your contour interval. So the C factor varies from 500 to 1500, and it also depends upon the conditions surrounding the map compilation process. Okay students, so we have covered all of the basic concepts regarding the photogrammetry. In the next session we will discuss about the drone application in this particular photogrammetry field. Have a good day students. Thank you.